Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vaishnava-vrinda ki Shri Prahlāda Lakshmi-Nrsimha ki Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki Nitai Gaura Premanande all glories to the Samlavate all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Bhagavadi Paschachadi Shatari Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayesha Vabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktivaibhava Naishtiki. So today we're celebrating Lord Nrsimha's very sudden appearance. And we're also celebrating the disappearance of Hiraṇyakaśipu. The two are somewhat related. There is an intimate relation between the two. And so we want to recall something of this encounter between Lord Nrsimha and his dear devotee, one of the two gatekeepers of Vaikuntha, Jaya and Vijaya. I never know which is which, Hiraṇyakaśipu. I assume Vijaya is Hiraṇyakaśipu. So I thought we read this verse from Canto 7, Chapter 5, verse number 6. Śrī-nārada uvāca śrutvā putra-giro daityaḥ śrutvā putra-giro daityaḥ para-pakṣa-samāhitāḥ para-pakṣa-samāhitāḥ jahāsa buddhir bālānāṁ jahāsa buddhir bālānāṁ bhidyate para-buddhibhiḥ bhidyate para-buddhibhiḥ. Śrī-nārada uvāca. Nārada Muni said, śrutvā, hearing, putra-giraḥ, the instructive words of his son, daityaḥ, Hiraṇyakaśipu, para-pakṣa, on the side of the enemy, samāhitāḥ, full of faith, jahāsa, laughed, buddhir, the intelligence, bālānāṁ, of small boys, bhidyate, is polluted, para-buddhibhiḥ, by instructions from the enemy's camp. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivaibhava Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Nārada Muni continued, when Prahlāda Mahārāja spoke about the path of self-realization in devotional service, thus being faithful to the camp of his father's enemies, Hiraṇyakaśipu, the king of the demons, heard Prahlāda's words, and he laughingly said, "Thus is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy." Purport. Hiraṇyakaśipu, being a demon, would always consider Lord Vishnu and his devotees to be his enemies. Therefore, the word para-pakṣa, on the side of the enemy, is used here. Hiraṇyakaśipu never agreed with the words of Vishnu or Krishna. Rather, he was angered by the intelligence of a Vaishnava. Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna says, "Sarvadharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam raja." Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. But demons like Hiraṇyakaśipu never agree to do this. Therefore, Krishna says, "Namang dushkritino mudha prapadyante Nārada Mayaya parita-jnana asuram bhavam ashritaḥ." Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. The asura bhava, the atheistic nature, is directly represented by Hiraṇyakaśipu. Such persons, being mudha and Nārada, fools and rascals, the lowest of men, would never accept Vishnu as the supreme and surrender to him. Hiraṇyakaśipu naturally became increasingly angry that his son Prahlāda was being influenced by the camp of the enemies. He therefore asked that saintly persons like Nārada not be allowed within the residential quarters of his son, for otherwise Prahlāda would be further spoiled by Vaishnava instructions. Śrī-nārada uvāca śrutvā putra-giro daityaḥ para-pakṣa-samāhitāḥ jahāsa buddhir bālānāṁ bhidyate para-buddhibhiḥ. Nārada Muni continued, when Prahlāda Mahārāja spoke about the path of self-realization in devotional service, thus being faithful to the camp of his father's enemies, Hiraṇyakaśipu, the king of the demons, heard Prahlāda's words, and he laughingly said, "Thus is the intelligence of children spoiled by the words of the enemy." This is the first response of Hiraṇyakaśipu to the first reply of Prahlāda Mahārāja to Hiraṇyakāśipu's first question. His first question has been, so my dear boy, what have you learned in school? What have you been learning? He shows himself to be a concerned father. He wants his son to be nicely educated. So he seems to be a caring father. But as we see in short order, his supposed caring for his son suddenly flips, and he will perceive his very dear son as his greatest enemy. But initially, he's not so disturbed. He's simply thinking, oh, this silly boy, he's parroting things that he has heard from the Vaishnavas, and that's not going to be good for him, so we'll have to be careful and make sure that he doesn't get further influenced by them. For now, he's just saying these things, what he has heard, as small children will do. And what has he just said? Tat sadhu manye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna liyam asakrahat hitvatma patam griham andagubam vanam gato yad dharim ashrayeta. Prahlāda Mahārāja responded to his father's query by saying, O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest. And then in the translation, Srila Prabhupada gives a bit of purport. More clearly, he says, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Someone might want to add to that, if it is difficult to go to Vrindavan because it's so far away, one might want to go to Bavarian forest, to Simhacalam, and take shelter of Lord Nrsimha. So this is his advice, which Hiraṇyakaśipu does not expect, and which it gives him some alarm, and it leads him to say that some measures have to be taken. And all of this is going to lead to a kind of acceleration of the division, shall we say, between Hiraṇyakaśipu and his son, Prahlāda. We heard earlier this morning that from Srila Prabhupada on one Nrsimha Caturdasi festival celebration, there was a performance of the story of Nrsimhadev, and then afterwards Srila Prabhupada comments, yes, he said, this is representing, Hiraṇyakaśipu represents the demons, and there is always this conflict between the theists and the atheists. And we see this situation so prominent in the modern world. People don't like to be identified as demons, but they do, many of them, very much like to be identified as atheists. Indeed, there seems to be something of a movement. There seem to be now born-again atheists who are organizing themselves. They're writing and publishing books. They are organizing organizations. They're promoting themselves on the internet. They have a mission. And their mission, as they see it, is a very righteous mission. So it becomes like a kind of religion. They see themselves as promoting the good. Similarly, Hiraṇyakaśipu thought himself as promoting, as representing, as embodying the good. He was convinced of himself. Well, this is a situation in ancient times, this is a situation in the present time, that there are two perspectives. One is there is God, and the other is there is no God. And those who say there is no God, they are very much preoccupied with God. In order to insist all the time, there is no God, they need to always be thinking of God. And it turns out this is one of the major themes of the Bhagavatam as a whole, that however you approach the Lord will reciprocate with you. And so those who say there is no God, God reciprocates by not being visible, by not existing. He says, oh, okay, you say I don't exist, okay, I don't exist. He disappears. Hiraṇyakaśipu was looking for Vishnu. Actually, whether he qualifies as a proper atheist, I'm not so sure, because he's kind of searching for Vishnu, and indeed his questions show a certain amount of sincerity of heart, of inquisitiveness, which of course will eventually lead to the appearance of the Lord. So he has somehow a special qualification, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that we should actually be grateful to Hiraṇyakaśipu, because without Hiraṇyakaśipu, Lord Nrsimha would not have appeared. So there is this issue of, is there a God or is there not a God? And those who say there is not a God base their idea on a false premise. And the false premise is that God must exist in the same sort of category as all other existence. What they're unable to appreciate is that God is the source of all existence. E-N-T-S, beings. He's the source of all beings. Prahlāda Mahārāja understands this, and therefore he understands that the Lord is existing and that he is the source of all being and beings. And therefore he is identified as Mahatma, as a great soul. Indeed, he's recognized as Mahabhagavata. But in Bhagavad Gita we have the word Mahatma. Mahatma nastu mang partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyananya bhavato gyatva-buddhadim avyayam. He's taking shelter. This is his qualification as a Mahatma, is that he's taking shelter of Daivi Prakriti. So instead of external Prakriti, which is constituted, we may say, always in terms of time and space, Prahlāda Mahārāja is taking shelter of Daivi Prakriti, which is beyond time and beyond space. And at the same time, he pervades all of time and all of space. The situation of Hiraṇyakaśipu, on the other hand, is also described in the Gita. Moga sha, moga karmano, moga jnana vicetasa, rakshasim asurim chaiva, prakritim mohinim shita. Such persons who take shelter of rakshasa and asura prakriti, everything they do is a failure, is useless. The word mogha means useless. Whatever they do, however impressive it may appear, is ultimately useless. It is a waste of time. Actually, it's worse than that, of course. The demons, those who deny the existence of God, asatyam apratishtam te jagadahura nishvaram, they say there is no God. Aparasparasambhutam, they consider that this world is simply a product of sexual intercourse. And so they conclude that they can do anything. And of course, what do? They do anything. But what is their anything? Destruction. They understand life only in terms of how to be a destroyer. And so we see them engaging in unbeneficial works meant to destroy the world. And everyone is aware of this in the present day. Everyone is very concerned that we are destroying the planet. But no one has an idea what to do about it, because no one recognizes what is the root problem. Prahlāda Mahārāja recognizes what is the root problem, and he's trying to tell, he's seriously concerned for his father to understand this truth. And therefore when Hiraṇyakaśipu later asks him again, "So, my dear son, what have you been learning in school?" This time, Hiraṇyakaśipu has tears in his eyes, tears of affection. He smells his son's head. This is an expression of affection in Indian tradition, smelling the head of the child. And with tears of affection rolling down his cheeks, he asks him, "So, what have you learned in school?" And Prahlāda Mahārāja answers very candidly, not what he learned in school, what he learned in the real school. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam. Dad, could you please engage in these activities, because everything else you're doing is just destructive. It's not good. Please. Well, at this point, of course, Hiraṇyakaśipu becomes more upset. He understands this is a serious problem now. This boy needs correction. He needs to go to a correctional institution. And of course, eventually this is all going to lead to a great confrontation, at which point Hiraṇyakaśipu is going to ask another question. And this time, it's a very interesting question. He says, "Where do you get this power?" Because by this time, so many efforts had been made to kill Prahlāda Mahārāja. None of them had been successful. And from this, Hiraṇyakaśipu understood one thing. Demons understand power. What they don't understand is where power is coming from. So when Hiraṇyakaśipu asks Prahlāda, "Where are you getting this power from?" and Prahlāda says, "From the same source that you're getting power from." Hiraṇyakaśipu can't understand this answer. He can't understand. And so he pursues a policy of further destruction and comes to the point where he decides it is now necessary to confront directly this ridiculous idea that God exists everywhere. And he thinks that he's going to prove to Prahlāda that this is not the case. And so there is this confrontation. At this point, with the indulgence of all of you, and especially of the senior devotees, I want to read something which I wrote a couple of days ago. This is, as Satchidananda Swami would say, little surprise. So, yes, this is maybe five minutes long, and then I will end. This is, I call this Hiraṇyakaśipu meets his maker. So first, the scene is described briefly. Nrsimha has just burst forth from the portico pillar of Indra's palace, roaring and blazing with wrath. Hiraṇyakaśipu and Nrsimha have a heart-to-heart conversation. None of their words are heard by others. And now comes this conversation. Hiraṇyakaśipu says, "Oh, ho, ho, oh no, uh-oh. But no, have I not seen you somewhere before?" Nrsimha, yes. Don't you know? It's been a long time since we last met, hasn't it? Hiraṇyakaśipu, but no, you're not Vishnu, are you? What's with the lion get-up and all that? No, not Vishnu. And even if you are Vishnu, it doesn't matter. You are powerless, powerless to harm me. Nrsimha, is that so, is it? Hiraṇyakaśipu, that is so. I have all my benedictions from Lord Brahma. Yes, I do. Sorry, no way you can kill me. Ha, ha, ha. Nrsimha, no way to kill you? I will decide that. Hiraṇyakaśipu, oh no, you won't. Lord Brahma has already decided. I can't be killed during the day nor during the night. Just this condition wraps it up. Nrsimha, with mock surprise, oh really? So then, which time is it now? Day or night? Hiraṇyakaśipu, doesn't matter. It's day, of course. I mean, it's kind of nighttime. Well, almost. Nrsimha, in other words, it is neither day nor night, nor is the hour of the evening, now is the hour of the evening Sunday, and just as you say, it is neither day nor night. Pleasant time, really, don't you think? Birds are quiet, sun has set, but stars are yet to appear. Quite charming. Let's enjoy it for just a moment, shall we? Hiraṇyakaśipu, a moment, yes. No, wait. Day, night, or whatever, doesn't matter. For time is only one consideration. There's also place. And I hold the benediction never to die either within or outside of a building. And as you see, I am presently within Indra's palace. I am presently outside Indra's palace. I am both within and outside Indra's palace. Nrsimha, I would put the matter slightly differently. You are neither within nor are you outside the building in question, for you are on the portico defined by all Shilpa and Vastu Shastras as being a threshold, belonging neither to the inside nor, dare I say, to the outside. Hiraṇyakaśipu. You do take yourself to be quite clever, don't you? Ha! But clearly you don't know me. You don't know that what austerities I have done to please Lord Brahma to obtain immortality. But why waste time with you? I will dispatch you and be done with it. And he waves his sword and makes a thrust at Nrsimhadev, who deflects the sword with a swipe of his hand. Nrsimhadev says, Now, let's not get overly excited, shall we? There is really no point in putting on such a show. A small surgical operation will take care of everything. Just relax and don't resist, and everything will be fine. Don't worry, this won't take long. Hiraṇyakaśipu, his voice is shaking now. No, you don't. You can't. You, Lord Brahma, he gave me another benediction. Yes. I can be killed by neither man nor beast. And you are obviously a beast, a lion. No, you're a man. No, you are both a man and a lion. So, nothing you can do to me. Nrsimhadev rolls his eyes, says, do allow me to rephrase your point. You can be killed by neither man nor beast. Indeed, I fully agree. But I am just that, neither man nor beast, but rather both. I am Vishnu in my half-man, half-lion avatar. Hiraṇyakaśipu. Yeah, sure, yeah. I'm impressed. Quite a get-up you have there. What with the mane, the teeth, the claws. Not bad. I'm impressed. But sorry, it won't do. I have another benediction, not to be killed by any weapon. So there. Your club, your chakra, forget it. Won't do anything to me. Ha-ha. Ha-ha. No. Nrsimhadev grabs him around the waist and he picks him up. No, you can't. Nrsimhadev says, yeah. I know all that about the weapons. Don't worry. I won't assail you with any of my invincible weapons because I do want to honor Lord Brahma's cute little benedictions he gave you. Nor do any of my weapons have inclination to bother themselves with the likes of you. No, have no fear. None of that. You see, I have something else. Right at hand, so to speak. And that is my fingernails. My claws, if you want to call them that. Hiraṇyakaśipu, no weapons allowed. Claws are weapons. No claws allowed. Brahma's benediction, don't forget. Nrsimhadev, I don't forget. Don't worry. No claws. No, claws are not weapons. Never were, never will be. Not extra devices, not extra devices, just natural growths from the body. Rather slick, don't you think? And 10 of them. Lovely, smooth, yet sharp like razors. And yet completely natural. biological, eco-friendly, run on renewable energy, no fuss, no muss, and no collateral damage when sent to their target. Hiraṇyakaśipu, he's being held in the air by Nrsimha. But you simply waste my time. I have yet another benediction to be killed, neither on land nor in the sky. And right now, you are holding me in the sky. Nrsimha, placing Hiraṇyakaśipu on his lap. Oh, not really. You see, I thought of that already. And I took my cue from the occasions when you had your son Prahlāda on your lap. So I thought it only proper to give you the opportunity to sit, or rather, to lie down on my lap. Because you see, the lap is well known to be neither on the earth nor in the sky. Isn't this wonderful? There you go now. That's it. You can drop your sword now. Comfortable? Head back. That's perfect. Now you're ready for our little surgical operation. Hiraṇyakaśipu looking up at Nrsimha, who looks down at Hiraṇyakaśipu. Oh, you do seem to have me now. All this time I knew you were somewhere around, but I couldn't find you, for you had hidden yourself so cleverly. And I know you must have hired a lawyer to work out this method of getting around all my benedictions. Very clever. Nrsimha. I've been peacefully residing in your own heart all along, but you didn't notice. You wouldn't listen to me. You would only listen to your wild mind and raging senses. Nor would you listen to the good advice of your son, my dear devotee Prahlāda. And now you have tried to kill my devotee. What madness! What led you to this? For your offense, you must die. And now this moment has come. The moment of truth. Hiraṇyakaśipu sighs deeply and says, "It is so. My memory returns. I am your servant. But I forgot. I completely forgot. I'm the greatest offender, a terrible demon. Please, take me. Finish this wretched body. I'm yours." And Nrsimha says, "As I said, just a small and quick surgical operation, and it will be all over. There, finished." He digs his claws into Hiraṇyakashipu's gut, he draws out the intestines, and makes them into a garland, which he wraps about his own neck. And he says, "Does that feel better now?" And then he speaks to himself, yes, he looks so much more peaceful now. He will be just fine. Hare Krishna. Sing a day or two.
I heard, Maharaj, that you prepared something, and I didn't, so better. Because I don't want to kind of cover what you were planning to. I'll just do prayers of Prahlāda. That's what I was thinking. Is that fine? Or you're going there also? Prahlāda's prayers? No? Phew. That was dramatic. and very sharp. Om Jnana-timirandasya Kinandana Salakya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha. when Srila Prabhupada was lecturing on the appearance day of Lord Nrsimhadev in Bombay, he was lecturing immediately after a play, and he was glorifying Hiraṇyakaśipu because the part was played so well. And then he explained more about the pastimes of Lord Nrsimhadev. And at the end he said, if I would have had more time, I would have spoken about the prayers of Prahlāda, because these prayers of Prahlāda were particularly favorites of Srila Prabhupada, and in a sense, the most important, because Prahlāda is the devotee, and we, as Prahlāda, are following in his footsteps and are trying to be devotees of the Lord. Therefore, when Prahlāda is in these prayers, he's praying from his position, the position of the devotee. Therefore, in a way, these are especially relevant for us. Of course, when we hear about Hiraṇyakaśipu, we can realize that there is a little Hiraṇyakaśipu in us. So every aspect of the pastime has its relevance, but still, because Prahlāda is a devotee, we want to give some special attention to his words. So I'll start very short. The situation was that Lord Nrsimhadev's anger, his anger had been aroused by Hiraṇyakaśipu. Lord Nrsimhadev's anger was so extreme and so strong that his anger was still raging even after Hiraṇyakaśipu had been killed. And then the demigods who were there, after all, the whole pastime took place in the celestial regions. The demigods who were present, they felt the incredible, overwhelming anger, the heat of that anger, and they felt thrown back, and they just overwhelmed by fear, and they could by no means go near the Lord. Even Lakshmi Devi, she did not dare to go near the Lord for another reason, because Lakshmi Devi, she had never seen that form, and because her chastity is to the Lord, she had some doubt. She had some doubt whether here really she was dealing with Lord Vishnu. So even Lakshmi did not appear before the Lord. No one could. Lord Brahma could not. Lord Shiva could not. None of the demigods could possibly go near the Lord. So Lord Brahma pushed Prahlāda forward and said, well, he appeared because of you, so you go and pacify him. A very, well, apparently it looks very heroic when you shove a 5-year-old boy forward, like, you go deal with him. But we should not take it in that way. We should see that Lord Brahma is most intelligent, and therefore very deeply analyzed the situation, and also realized he's not just a 5-year-old boy. He is a very powerful, as Hiraṇyakaśipu said, he's extremely powerful. Nothing could kill him. Nothing could possibly kill Prahlāda. So many attempts had been made to kill him, but nothing worked. So then the Lord benedicted Prahlāda and placed his lotus hand, I guess it's a hand, or a transcendental paw, it's neither a hand or a paw, whatever it was. He placed his hand on the head of Prahlāda, and then it said Prahlāda was purified, further purified from any possible influence of his demoniac birth, and subsequently Prahlāda started to offer prayers. So after having offered various prayers, Prahlāda comes to this prayer that I chose. Naivatmanaha prabhurayam nijalabhapurno manam janat avidussa karunam vrinite yadyach jano bhagavate vidadita manam taschatmane patimukasya yatamukashri. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. And I'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport, which is not so long. In Bhakti Yoga, it is recommended that a devotee follow 9 principles: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. This service of glorifying the Lord by hearing, chanting, and so on is not, of course, meant for the benefit of the Lord. This devotional service is recommended for the benefit of the devotee. The Lord is always glorious, whether the devotee glorifies him or not. But if the devotee engages in glorifying the Lord, the devotee himself automatically becomes glorious. Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahādavaknirvapanam. By glorifying the Lord constantly, the living entity becomes purified in the core of his heart, and thus he can understand that he does not belong to the material world, but is a spirit soul whose actual activity is to advance in Krishna consciousness, so that he may become free from the material clutches. Thus the blazing fire of material existence is immediately extinguished. Bhava mahādavakni nirvapanam. Let's see how far. So, to comment a little bit, I found this quite important. It stood out for me that the Lord doesn't need our glorification, especially because we are members of the Sankirtan movement, which is a movement dedicated to constant glorification of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the question is raised, but why? Why does the Lord need to be glorified all the time? Is it some sort of, what is it? Is he enjoying this to hear his own glory? Is it almost like vanity? What is this quality in the Lord that he likes to be glorified and that we have to chant all his glories all the time? Why? What is this in the Supreme Lord? But we see from this verse what actually the key is to the entire glorification of the Supreme Lord, because Prahlāda makes it very clear. Now Prahlāda, Srila Prabhupada states, is one of the Mahajans. Swayambhu Nārada Shambhu Prahlādo Janako Bhismo. Prahlādo Janako Bhismo. Prahlāda is one of the 12 Mahajans, one of the authorities. Therefore, whatever Prahlāda speaks is to be taken as authorized instruction. And Prahlāda is stating that no, the Supreme Lord is Atmaram. He's satisfied within the self. He doesn't need our glorification. But the amazing thing is that by glorifying the Lord, the person who glorifies him is purified. Just as when we decorate the face, we look at our reflection, it is also decorated. So when we decorate the Lord in glorification, we become ourselves glorified and purified. As it is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Sarva Mahagunagan Vaishnav Sarira. Then it says, Vaishnavir Gun. Sarva Mahagunagan Vaishnava Sarira. Krishna Gun Sakale Sanchare. He says that all the good qualities of Krishna will manifest within a Vaishnava. So it is very interesting that the Vaishnava himself, by serving Krishna, gets the qualities of Krishna, and that the entire qualification is actually decorating ourselves, and that is the purpose of the Supreme Lord. Although we offer endless praise and endless glorification of the Supreme Lord, meanwhile our own glories are increasing. And that is a very, very important point made by Prahlāda, which struck me very much. Then I like to go to one more prayer of Prahlāda, and then I will end. Naham binemya jitate tibaya naksaya jivarka netra brukutira basugradam strit antrasaja ksataja keshara shankukarnan nirada bitta digibat aribin nakagrat. My Lord, who are never conquered by anyone, I'm certainly not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes bright like the sun, or your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear your sharp pinching teeth, your garland of intestines, your mane soaked with blood, or your high wedge-like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring which makes elephants flee to distant places, or your nails which are meant to kill your enemies. So Lord Nrsimhadev is throughout scripture described as frightening, like this Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad calls him Bhishana, or very frightening appearance. But the frightening appearance of the Lord is not at all frightening for the devotee, not frightening for Prahlāda, nor for the devotee, because Srila Prabhupada explains that the lion is very fearsome to all animals, but not to its own cubs. Right? Its own cubs, they are not at all afraid of the lion, because the lion is their protector. So rather than being afraid, they feel very well protected. Just as children like to say, you know, my father is a policeman or something like that, you know, just to scare off other kids. You know, you can't do anything to me. Realize that. My father, you know. So when your father and protector is Nrsimhadev, then one is very comfortable. So in this way, the devotees rather are very comfortable, very happily discussing the intestines of Hiraṇyakaśipu hanging as a garland around the neck of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says, yes, Prahlāda stands there next to the killer of his father, and he has a garland ready. He wants to garland him, the killer of his father. So very transcendental, quite difficult to understand for the materialist. Sometimes people come into our temples and they see the painting of Hiraṇyakaśipu, who has just had that little surgical and so on that Maharaj described. And they see it for what it is, and they say, "What is this?" Oh, that's Lord Nrsimhadev. Because we see this all as the great mercy of the Lord, who is so affectionate, so much full of love towards his devotees, that he will not tolerate any violence towards his devotees. And thus, the devotees, by worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev, become fearless. Bahirnissimo, hridayenissimo. It is everywhere, and outside of us is Lord Nrsimhadev. The Lord is in the heart. Yato yato ya, mitato nrsimho. Everywhere we are is Lord Nrsimhadev. And in this way, we are feeling very safe and very happy to commemorate this pastime with all its bloody descriptions. So I'll end with that. Thank you very much. Nrsimha Caturdasi Mahamahotsav ki jai.
Yes, in one class Srila Prabhupada mentioned, as Krishna Kshetra Mahārāja also pointed out, that the story of Lord Nrsimhadev and Hiraṇyakaśipu and Prahlāda Mahārāja, it is an eternal truth. It is eternally true. There's always a friction, quarrel between the theists and the atheists. It always has been. Presently, it's the same situation. And in the future, it will be like that. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada explained the meaning of Hiraṇyakaśipu. Hiranya, as we know, it means gold. And the Kashipu in Sanskrit means a cushion, something very, very soft, comfortable. So in this way, Hiraṇyakaśipu is a typical materialist, always trying to enjoy sexual relationships. That refers to Kashipu. And Hiranya, gold, money, wealth. That's the interest of the atheists, of the materialists. And Prahlāda Mahārāja is exactly the opposite. Pra, in Sanskrit, that comes from prakrishta rupena. It gives emphasis to something, pra. And ahlāda, in Sanskrit, that means very, very blissful, transcendental bliss. So that's the meaning of Prahlāda Mahārāja's name. He's always experiencing transcendental bliss, being absorbed in a devotional service. So that's the basic difference between the theists, atheists, the materialists, and the transcendentalists, devotees. Of course, we can engage everything in Krishna's service, any kind of wealth, because we know everything belongs to Krishna anyway. It's no question of renunciation, really. Everything belongs to Krishna. And consequently, it has to be engaged in Krishna's service. If he is a proprietor, we must engage it in Krishna's service. And atheists, as mentioned, they always try to declare that God doesn't exist. He's dead. And the Lord reciprocates. If you want me to be dead, if you think I'm not existing, I reciprocate accordingly. Savahadashaham. That I'm the all-devouring Mrityu Savahadashaham, Mrityu death. That's my reciprocation. You want to kill me, I kill you. But Kauntaya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. The devotee, anyone who takes shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot be defeated, annihilated by anything. And of course the argument is, typical argument, but you devotees, they also die. And then we give the reply, no, devotees don't die. It's like if a cat, the example is given, carries a kitten, small cat, in the mouth between the teeth. That doesn't mean death for the kitten. But if the same cat carries a mouse between the teeth, oh, there's a huge difference. That means death. Death for the mouse, rat. So a devotee who fully surrenders to Krishna, yes, the body has to die, but the soul always protected by the Lord. And in this way a devotee, indeed, he does not experience death like the non-devotees, atheists, demons do. They truly experience death, not the devotees. For the devotees, they don't talk about death, they talk about liberation. This is what they experience. A pleasant departure from this miserable world. This is what devotees experience. So often the atheists, they think, oh, all these stories, Hiraṇyakaśipu, half lion, half man, give me a break. Give me a break. These are all stories, fairy tales. No. I would share with you, then I want to end the class, the story how Nārada Mahārāja for the first time in 1979 visited Ahovalam, the very appearance place of Lord Nrsimha. And these are not stories. They are true. And anyone can visit that very place where the Lord appeared to kill Hiraṇyakaśipu and to protect Prahlāda Mahārāja. So first, at that time, nobody really knew where exactly in India Lord Nrsimha appeared. The ISKCON devotees didn't know. And he inquired from different devotees who knew something about Lord Nrsimha, his worship, but nobody really knew, except one devotee in India. And he was a Nrsimha Bhakta, and he knew. He explained to Maharaj where exactly. Now you have to start from Hyderabad, then about 9 days you have to travel by train and by bus. It's a long, long ride. And it's located in a deep, deep jungle. And the tribes, there are many tribes living there. And they have a very, very special dialect. Nobody else knows. So good luck. So he thought this might be just a dream, too difficult, but let me try. So just when he thought it's too difficult, in Hyderabad, India, one devotee, he knew everything. He was a principal of a school, and he also spoke that particular dialect. And he told Maharaj, I have some days off, I can accompany you. and I can translate for you wherever you want to go. So let's do it. And then they took off. 5 days it took them by train. Traveled through the desert, into the mountains, and then into that, dense, thick forest, jungle. And it was quite dangerous to walk through that jungle. It took them a whole day, about 9 hours, morning till evening. 6:30 they arrived. And they were in Ahovalam. That's the city, it's not the real Ahovalam. That's still 2 days of walk, more, and then you reach the actual Ahovalam. But the city is called like that. And as you can imagine, the tribes, local tribes, they were so surprised to see a Westerner. No Westerner before visited that place. It's completely cut off from civilization. There's no electricity, nothing. So they were amazed, some Western sadhu visiting them. So then they inquired about the actual location of Ahovalam, which is into the mountain range. So they had to climb for several hours up into the mountains. And then finally they reached a plateau. And when Maharaj touched the edge of that plateau, it was very, very extremely soft. And he was wondering, what is this? So as he reached over, he noticed that the stone, the rocks, were very, extremely soft, and there was some writing in Sanskrit in it, on these rocks, Sanskrit words written. And then there's some local tourist guide, I mean not tourist, how do you call this, trek guide. He explained to Maharaj that this used to be the original school, Gurukula, of Prahlāda Mahārāja. And then they went further and noticed a grove of trees, different trees. And from these trees hang down some kind of a bag, small bags, filled with something valuable. Then he inquired, what's the meaning of that? And they explained it is the tradition of the local tribe people to climb up there and hang these valuable items on that tree in a small bag. And then they pray to Lord Nrsimha to bless them with a child just like Prahlāda Mahārāja. So in this way, all the boys in Ahovalam, they have different names related to Lord Nrsimha's pastimes, like Mahasingha, Prahlāda, Nrsimha, etc. Nrsimha Rupa. They have all these names. And then they were informed there are 9 different caves. And in these different caves are amazing murtis, deities of Lord Nrsimha. They came to the first cave, and it was there were some beautiful pillars in front, but the entrance was blocked by stones, by rocks. So they put them aside, and so many bats came out, flying straight into their face, a little bit afraid, but they crawled into the cave, and after a long time of this dense, pitch dark cave, they came to a chamber. It opened up into a chamber, and then someone by that time came with a flashlight, and they noticed in the very, very far back of that cave a beautiful, large deity of Lord Nrsimha, carved out of stone, very, very beautiful. So they had a kirtan. And you can imagine, the atmosphere in that dark cave, seeing Lord Nrsimhadev, large deity, lit just by a flashlight, and then they had a kirtan, glorification of Lord Nrsimhadev. Then they went to a second cave where Lord Nrsimhadev actually appeared. And they also noticed it's a very, very deep cave, and with a very complex pathways leading in and out, and you can easily get lost. The trekking guide told Maharaj that just 2 days ago, 2 sadhus came, and they went into the cave and they never came out again. And he mentioned you have to be careful because it happens that you might get lost inside. So anyway, the trekking guide, he knew. They went inside, and after complex pathways, then finally they also noticed the beautiful deity of Lord Nrsimhadev. He was garlanded with shalagram shilas, and they also had a kirtan. Then they went further, and they wanted to go to the original place where Lord Nrsimhadev came out of the pillar to kill Hiraṇyakaśipu. And in order to go there, you have to climb further up into the mountains. And there's one waterfall, very, very strong, and you have to go through that, right through that waterfall. So usually the people, they reach each other's hand and they catch hold of each other because it's such a strong waterfall. So they went through, and right after that waterfall, there's another cave, small cave, and it is called the Rakta Kunda. Rakta means blood, and Kunda, like a small pond. So Maharaj noticed that the water was completely red, and he reached his finger into the water, but there was no mud, only water, but still red, completely red. And then he was told by the guide, it is, when you bathe into that lake, you will always be protected by Lord Nrsimhadev. So when he heard that, he took his gamsha, jumped right into the lake, and he made sure that all the parts of his body were completely covered by the water. Because he remembered one story from ancient Greece, the story of Achilles. Achilles means, what's the English word? The heel. The heel. Achilles means heel. He used to be a Greek warrior, and his mother, when he was small, took him by the heels, by the feet, and plunged him into the blood of a very, very special dragon. And then the story is that in this way he became invincible. But unfortunately not his feet, not his heels, because mother held it. So he was a great, great warrior. Nobody could defeat him. He even killed Hector, who was a great, great, powerful warrior. He defeated him. But another warrior found out the secret, and he shot a special arrow into his heels, and then he died. So Maharaj, he remembered that story, and he wanted to make sure that his entire body will be covered by the transcendental blood of that Rakta Kunda. Then after that, they went further to the original column from which Lord Nrsimhadev appeared. And indeed, they noticed it was a large, large column, but only half size. And the other half was scattered all over the place. They saw that. And they took a few pieces of the remnants of that column and then blissfully went back home. So this was our Ahovalam darshan today. Sri Sri Prahlāda Nrsimhadeva ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
We
What is the program now?
We have 10 minutes, I think, in case we would want to have any discussion.
So Maharaj proposed a short discussion.
If there's a question, let's see.
Maharaj, you talked about atheists, that there is an entire movement, and sometimes even devotees who are not on the highest stage, they have tendencies of atheism. As soon as we forget Krishna, it is a kind of atheistic consciousness. I have heard some weeks ago the phrase of anti-theists. Could you say something, you or the other Maharajas? What is the difference between an atheist and an anti-theist?
Hare Krishna. Well, anti means against, and in English, atheist just means non-theist, means just saying there is no God and that's the end of the story. An anti-theist, I presume, would be one who is on a mission to convince everyone that there is no God. But this gives me a chance to give a little advertisement for my seminar, which we have one session this afternoon. I think it's 3 o'clock, and I think it'll be in the temple room. We're going to look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's meeting with the Advaita or Mayavada sannyasis in Varanasi. And it'll be a little bit philosophical, because that's what the section is, to consider what actually means, how is it that the Vaishnavas respond to the position of atheism in the Indian context, but also relevant for us. So we'll be discussing that. Yeah, that's a whole seminar. Do you want to add something? Comments? Anything?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Atheists, as Maharaj pointed out, they couldn't care less about God. And the anti-theists, they're against the theists. And the demons, they want to kill God. Like I remember one lecture Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that what to speak of devotees, even the Supreme Lord himself, Lord Krishna, so many demons, they try to kill him. Practically on a daily basis, some demon tried to kill Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. So what to speak of the devotees, they also have to expect some difficulties. If they want to glorify the Lord, if they want to surrender to Him, even the Lord Himself, so many demons try to kill Him. So that's the specific feature of a demon. He's so envious of God that he tries to kill him.
On that note, the famous phrase, God is dead, you may have heard. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, is quoted. He said, God is dead. But that's not the whole, that's only part of it. What he said was, God is dead, and we have killed him.
And
what he means by we, and we have killed him. What does he mean by we? He means modern Western culture. That's what he means.
Yeah.
So he's saying it's a done deal. It's already been killed.
Yeah, I noticed there was, when I drove to Paris in 1973 from Germany, on the highway there was one bridge, and on that bridge, how do you call this? graffiti spray, you know, something, and someone sprayed Nietzsche, God is dead, and then another one underneath with a different color spray. Then it read, God, Nietzsche is dead.
Nietzsche is dead.
So,
God.
yeah, I thought that's pretty amusing.
Yes.
When I read the divine demonic nature chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it was very striking to me that Srila Prabhupada, he would say that you can believe in God, but if you don't follow God, that you're also demonic. And also Hiraṇyakaśipu Goswami, he would talk about people who are psychological atheists. Philosophically, they believe in God, but psychologically, they don't have God in their life. Would you have anything to say about those?
Your turn.
I also, I remember one class, Srila Prabhupada exactly made this point. When I heard this, I thought, wow. Srila Prabhupada mentioned, just to try to gratify the senses, this is demoniac. Srila Prabhupada said. I thought, whoa. Right. We theoretically we might believe in God, but if we factually behave, live like demons, then what does it tell about us? So there's an ocean of difference, universe of difference, in believing God and factually following His instructions and living like a devotee, behaving the mentality of a devotee. Yeah.
Yes, many things could be said on these subjects. But perhaps we'll end there. And the festivities continue, if I understand correctly, at 11 o'clock begins Nrsimha's Maha Abhisheka. So be there or be square. And thank you all on behalf of all the speakers. Thank you all for your kind attention, and we wish you a wonderful remainder to today's Nrsimha Caturdasi festivities. Shri Prahlāda Lakshmi Nrsimha ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Srila Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande.